it's getting focus. And one of the things that we did in kind of our last few years of mastermind is that we really challenged everybody, because one of the things that we'd always hear from everybody is like, man, I want more balance. I want more balance. And it's like, well, that shit doesn't exist. The only way you find balance is just being present wherever you're at. And that's what allows for focus. However, and this is what they really got into, was focus requires that for us to be present. Yet how do we get focused? And so how do we get present? and so the stress levels in our body, when those are high, there's no way that we can focus. And I forget exactly how she really broke it down. It was a writer downer. Poor decisions and inactivity, and poor actions, poor decisions and poor actions when our stress levels are high. So what are we doing to lower the stress levels? And this was because Caitlin was kind of stressed on the call last week, and this is what we got to talking about it. And she just sat there and she was just like, yes, like everything. And for her, and I think a lot of us can resonate to this, like, think about how you create that environment. Like I shared on Friday, I have a little noise machine in my room that sounds like the ocean, right? Because that's my calming, is the water. The ocean is my calming. Some people it's the forest. Some people it's up in the mountains, whatever that calming force is. And then like, think about like, just, I like my environment cool. I like that sound. I like that smell. So you ignite all of the senses. And all of this is to just keep the stress levels down. And what she kept saying is that the only way that we can become focused and create results is being calm, right? Being calm, being present. And that allows us to stay focused and then to take the right action, which gets us the result, which is discipline. And I remember Shane Parrish, he has the Farnham Street blog, the knowledge project, his podcast. He just geeks out about decision-making theories and really about how people make decisions and how they think. And his whole thing is like, well, we can be disciplined, but what about being consistently disciplined? And I was like, ooh, I like that, right? Because it's about who's the most consistent. Yet we can be consistent with bad behavior, but who can be consistent with the behavior that's going to get us the ability to be focused and be more present wherever we're at? And that was the challenge for the mastermind while it was still in AEA mastermind, was how present are you being? And it comes back to the whole thing of, well, you have to have an awareness before you can make a choice. Like a lot of us don't even have an awareness. Like our stress levels are high. We just think we can go there. And that's what she was talking about as alphas, as high level entrepreneurs running and gunning. It's the whole Marshall Goldsmith, right? What got you here won't get you there. So she's like, can we operate at a high stress level and get to a certain point? Absolutely. You can muscle your way. And Kendra and I always talk about that. You can muscle your way, depending upon the business model, you can muscle your way to about 4 million in revenue. Beyond that, it's not happening. You will not go past that. And so you look at somebody like Justin Nelson, who muscled his way to 4 million, sheer muscled his way to 4 million, but he's not going to go any further if he doesn't change what he's doing, right? If he doesn't lower the stress. And so he's just a good example. And I think understanding those things from a leadership perspective, like how are you instilling those behaviors, those disciplines now, right? Like I woke like this morning, the only thing that I haven't done of the savers and all my stuff is go work out. Mondays I go work out right after everything this morning. Was on with Michael and Aaron this morning. And I felt incredible. And it's just doing those things and staying disciplined. And it's all the little things as getting that result. And I think when you think about that too, it's all about collecting those results over and over, and that helps build confidence. I remember one of the key traits that we would always look at in our golfers when we were teaching, youth golf it was kind of an indicator. Did you make your bed this morning? And did we have some good golfers that didn't make their bed? Yeah, but they were a train wreck. They were a shit show. They were all over the place. They couldn't stay focused. But yet those kids that came in and we knew, hey, did you make your bed this morning? Yes, Mr. John, we sure did. I'm like, I mean, they would do all the work. They would do everything that they needed to do to be successful. And I think General McChrystal has a great podcast or a great TED Talk or something that he leads with. Like, if you want to do something, if you want to win the day, just make your bed, right? That just kind of triggers the events into the day. So it was good. I think just kind of our whole theme and conversation around leadership and understanding comes to making sure that we're doing the things to lower the stress level in our nervous system. And it comes back to, what I've been adamant and passionate about through the power of full engagement, through the physical, the mental, the emotional, and spiritual. Everything is there because it allows us to be calm and not be reactive in situations, especially dealing with clients and situations in changing markets. That's the biggest thing, right? And then also dealing with agents in changing markets that are lost. And if we can't be the torch, if we can't be the guiding light, then who somebody else is going to be. So that's the thing that I want to everybody to understand, how extremely important. It's not something like, oh, well, hey, I need to learn how to do this script or learn this or get more clients. Well, if you're no good to yourself, how are you going to be good at converting those clients? You're going to be short. You're going to be reactive. You're not going to follow the process. You're going to let them trigger you. You're going to let them, throw you off. And I remember my longest time, running friend. He's a builder here up in the city. We were representing him when we were still in the Lawton office. It was December. I had 4 deals on the books to close. I had every dollar allocated for just to make sure we made payroll. We were going to carry things over. We'd already negotiated, hey, we ain't gonna be able to pay you this month. We're going to pay you next month. And he calls me up and he said, I don't feel like you've done enough of your job. I need you to cut your commission. My best friend asked me to do that. I fucking reacted like you never believed, and breaking shit, cussing him, and, just going back and looking at my stress level at that time and not understanding and being disciplined in the practices of this on a consistent basis, right? To be able to know how to regulate my emotions. This is why the very first conversation we had this month was on emotional intelligence and being able to, how are you doing to focus on that, right? And that's what Matt has been saying. He's like, mindfulness practice to keep your mind right, give you that breathing that you need to breathe to keep the stress levels low. And then what are you doing to understand who you are? What are you doing to regulate those emotions when people are going to trigger you, and understand it's always layers deeper, right? Like if I would have just had the conversations with Bill and said, hey bud, like, explain to me, man, I'm not understanding kind of where you're coming at with this, and just listened, we could have probably worked through it, salvaged months of our relationship, and I would have got all the money. Instead, I reacted. Instead of pausing and breathing and asking a question. And I think that's really what I want to hammer home with you guys this month as you're taking away, is like, there's going to be a lot more of that happening as the market transitions, and especially as we get into the holiday seasons. And so are we going to be reactive, or are we going to be the leader? And, that's why, I love what Garrett says, the king eats first, the queen eats first. And that just means you got to put yourself on, because people are dependent upon you to lead the way. And you have to do that. So it was just a great reminder talking through that. But I also want to give us a few more context to kind of really think about, right? Because last week we really dove into some fundamentals to help us in our leadership capabilities of dealing not only with ourselves, our team, our family, in our clients, right? Within the community. And, listening and re-listening. And I started again today, and I actually got to take notes for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes of the Ed Milet podcast with Rory, and just going through and just understanding, everything we're talking about here from a leadership perspective is also our reputation. And how is that reputation showing up? And how is that reputation showing up online? How is it showing up in our community? Cash, you walk into the Icon building, that's your reputation. When people see you, they see your name. What does that mean? What does that stand for? And it's, what he said was, our brand is what people think of when they think of you. And we don't control it, but we can influence, and we have to be mindful about it. And so from a leadership perspective, I mean, we can't control that, but we can damn sure influence it by how we show up every day.